Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome again to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. I am Coach Powell. I am so glad that you're able to be here with us today. We have a wonderful show planned for you today. We're going to talk about so many wonderful things that are going to help you in your business, in your life, get yourself ready, set, and go for 2024. I know you're excited. I know you're ready to go. And I'm just going to have a brief little overview with you of where we've been in this series, because this series has been all about planning. It's all about planning and getting yourself ready for what you need to have for 2024. We started out our series talking about what you needed to have to make sure that your connection to other people was on point. Right? We wanted to make sure that you knew who you needed to have positive relationships with in 2024, how you needed to connect with them, how you needed to manage and drive those relationships. That was session number 1. We talked about connection. As you know, this has been all incubated in my VisionQuest 90 process that I've been sharing with people for nearly 20 years now. And it's been so successful and so magnificent with helping entrepreneurs and business leaders really grow their business, really come up with what they need to be more successful. And so I thought I would share with you guys. And every year around about this time, we actually kind of go through the planning process. And we make several tweaks to the program and to the strategy as we move forward. What we now know, because of COVID-19, was that virtual business and hybrid opportunities are real. We have to learn how to work with those. We learned that people are going to be working from various locations all over the world. We have to learn to work with that. We have literally four different ages in the marketplace right now. We have to learn to work with that. We got runaway inflation. Not necessarily runaway inflation, but pretty high inflation. And that's making things difficult for people who are getting squeezed. The middle class is getting squeezed. The poor are getting squeezed for a lot of things. And so leaders have had to figure out various different ways to accomplish the things they want to accomplish. And your goals can't wait for society to change and for society to get things going. So you have to know how to make the right contacts. In our second show, we talked about vision. Right? We talked about vision and how important it is to be able to see where you want to go as clearly as is possible, but it's not possible to have absolute clear vision of what you want to do and where you want to go. You can't really get that done without goals, which we'll talk about later on today. The third topic we got into was mission. having a sense of mission, knowing what your purpose, your passion, your reason why, being able to articulate it, be able to understand it. We talked about the who's, how's, why's, where's, when, and what's of mission. And we broke down all of the rules, all the requirements, all the practical ideas and concepts. That was session number 3. Today's the magic session. We're getting down to my favorite 2 sessions. And I'll tell you why. Today we're going to talk about the goals. And next week we're going to talk about habits. These 2 concepts and 2 ideas that must be a part of your planning process are so super important that if you get these right, they're going to make all the difference in the world. Now, your connections, your visions, and your habit, or your mission, your sense of mission, all are important parts of how you even conceive or come up with your goals and habits. So if you're trying to set up just goals and you're not really thinking about that mission, you're not thinking about the people that you know, the resources that you have, you're not thinking about the vision for where you want to go, that's some stinking thinking. Your goals aren't going to work. And there's a lot of reasons why we'll get into today why your goals won't work. If they're not aligned to everything else you might see in that quadrant there, the VisionQuest 90 quadrant, actually it's not a quadrant anymore because we added that 5th element. But your partners and your contacts are part of it, right? I don't know if you call that a quadrant or what do you call that? A 5-star, I don't know, five phase process, right? So this is what the VisionQuest 90 process is all about, right? And you're going to find that when you can complete this process and this planning process and put all these pieces together, you're going to have a wonderful, smooth ride into success. But if any of these pieces are missing, that's when you have to kind of understand the details behind all those pieces, then your plans are just not going to work. It's not going to be good. You're going to find lots of problems. You're going to have to go backwards a lot of times before you can go forward. And sometimes that's necessary to take a step back, right, before you go forward. But don't plan on fumbling. You want to make sure you move forward and make sure you're growing no matter what. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. Today is a super special day because we're talking about goals today. And when we say goals, this is the process we're going to go through. This is the strategy we're going to use. We're going to talk about, first of all, we're going to give you a quick little quiz, a quick little assessment of where you stand right now when it comes to goal setting and your concept about goals and what you think about goals. We're going to run through that real quick. And then we're going to help you get into, how you might adopt some ideas and concepts from maybe your greatest heroes and the process you might use to get to their understanding. And I got a special surprise for you there. And then we're going to get into the facts about pace setting, the goals that you have to do. How are your goals set up to help you develop a winning pace for 2024? We're going to talk about the power of visualization and how that's additive to your goals. We're going to talk about what you need to do to actually share your goals, your brilliance with other people, and how do you make those happen? How do you make that stick in a meaningful way? And then finally, we're going to go back through some of the questions that we ask and give you the answers so that you don't walk away with anything left on the table in terms of what you need to know to empower your goals and to make sure you get it right for yourself and your team over this next year. Before we do any of that, we want to have a quick little commercial break. I haven't done this in a while, and I want to share this with you really quick. And then when we come back, we'll get this party started. So here it is. I promised you that I'll get you a little brain teaser going off really quickly. And I want to ask you some questions. I want you to think about the answers to those questions. If you want to put your answers in the chat, feel free to do so. If you want to write them down on a note paper or whatever that is, you can do that as well. It doesn't really matter. What really matters, though, is that you engage your brain as much as you can in thinking about some of the things that are going on, right? So let's talk about it. When you think of goals and setting your goals, what do the numbers 42%, and 3% have to do with it. What do the numbers 42% and 3% have to do with goal setting? Now I'm going to give you a hint. These are standards. These are national standards. These are national rules. These are research practices and things that, if you know these things about goals, you might be more compelled to do them correctly. Right? Second question. People have blank goals are more likely to achieve them. People that have blank goals are more likely to achieve them. Number 3. What practice will make you twice as confident in achieving your goals? What practice will make you twice as confident in achieving your goals? What kind of goals lead to higher levels of performance? Again, what kind of goals lead to higher levels of performance? And the last question is, what strategy helps best with accountability and motivation? Think about these questions. Think about how you would answer those questions. If you're going to put your answers in the chat, go ahead and fine. You want to chat it up with other people, that's fine. No problem with that. I love to see that action and that so on and so forth. In fact, while you're in the chat, go ahead and tell us who you are, where you're from, the name of your business. If you have a company, understand that Coffee Tea You and Me is a business-friendly environment. So what does that mean? That means you can put your company information in there. You can put your everything in there that you want to put in there. People to get to know you, people to find you, people to fall in love with you, whatever you need to make. If you have an announcement you want to make to a sales opportunity, or if you want to make an announcement of an event, go ahead and put that information in the chat. We want you to do that. We're looking forward to that. We want to see you out there. I see you, Hassan. Thank you so much for putting your information in the chat. I really appreciate it. Make sure you put your contact information out there if you want people to get in contact with you for any reason, or where you're from. I'd like to know. I always like to know where the audience is coming from, and I like to give you a shout out and all that kind of good stuff. So let's make that as interactive as possible. And when you think about these goal questions, the reason why I put them up here is because, of course, I'm going to answer them for you. And at the end of our talk today, you're going to have some answers to those questions. But I want to engage your brain. I want you to start thinking about what goals mean and how goals work, because goals are very, very distinct. And they're very, very important processes to what you want to have happen in your life. The next quiz I want to share with you, this one is super important, because you want to identify what I would call your spirit coach, right? There might be somebody who's alive today, or maybe somebody who joined the ancestors, who has said some famous things about goals, or some really, really good, cool things about goals that you want to know about. And I provided the links to one of my favorite ancestors who has a lot to say about goals. And I want to give you a couple quotes, and I want you to think through these quotes. Who might this person be? When you look at the different ideas and thoughts that you've maybe accumulated and thought through in your life, where did this information come from? Number 1, I love this one. Start with where you are, with what you have, and make something of it, and never be satisfied. Start with where you are, with what you have, make something of it, and never be satisfied. Who do you think said that? Who do you think said, when you can do common things, the common things of life, in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world? Who did that? Who said that? That's great, right? That's a great quote. When you think about goals, how does that apply to goals? What does it mean to do common things in an uncommon way? And how can you make those common things known in a way that they command the attention of the world? The third quote: all my life I have risen regularly at 4 o'clock and have gone into the woods and talked with God. There he gives me my orders for the day. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but this is a nod to meditation. This is a nod to personal assessment. This is a nod to thinking in ways that are higher than your own. So that when you set your goals, you're setting some very, very special goals. You're not setting goals that are just based on greed, your own personal needs, and so on and so forth. You're setting goals that are good for the world. You're setting goals that are good for your community and good for your family, good for every stakeholder, right? Who said this? No individual has any right to come into the world and go out of it without leaving behind him distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it. This is all about legacy, in case you didn't understand. You know, if you don't leave something, if you're not planning to create something, if you're not planning to institutionalize an idea or a concept, and that's not a part of your goals, then I got a feeling that your goals are not going to be as exciting, as motivating. They're not going to be as interesting, not to yourself or even to others, long enough for you to plow through whatever obstacles are coming to your way. It's very important that you're thinking about legacy building. It's very important that you're thinking outside of yourself when your goals are being made. Even the goals that are given to you from your company, you might want to be thinking, how can these goals magnify something bigger than me? Thank you so much for the five-sided, it's no sides to a circle, but it's a polygon. I loved it. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, Hassan. That's really beautiful. I really appreciate that. Who said this? The last quote that I'm going to be finished with. I'm going to reveal to you who said these quotes. Education is the key to unlock the golden door to freedom. Education is the key to unlock the golden door to freedom. Man, how important is it to know that you know what you know? And what does that mean to you emotionally and psychologically when you are absolutely on point with what you know, right? How does that help you in setting your goals? How does it help you in knowing the difference between an impossible goal and a goal that's possible, right? You got to know. You got to be educated. You got to be smart enough. You got to get the information. Whether you get that information through books, through reading, through communication with other people and learning from other people, or you get that information from your personal experience. But you have to have that education. However you get it, you have to have it, because that's what gives you confidence. It's what gives you the rewards of knowing that what you're doing is not a dream. It's not just a passion. It's a thing that can happen, right? Very, very important. This is my hero. You might not recognize the picture, but this is a picture of George Washington Carver. Dr. Carver was a real American genius. In many ways, he helped to create what we now know as the industrial complex of the United States, right? Him and his partnership with Henry Ford was such a wonderful collaboration. And at the turn of the last century, the turn of the 18th century, the 19th century, into the 20th century, those two gentlemen worked together so often and for so long to create so many things. Of course, Carver is credited with many different agricultural products involving peanuts and soybeans and potatoes and carrots and all the different things that were going on to help Southern farmers with their crop rotation and their soil redevelopment after cotton had stripped the soil, and he needed to have ways to refurbish and rejuvenate that soil so people can eat and grow and create industry, right? Well, Henry Ford fell so in love with Dr. Carver that they developed a product that was used even in Henry Ford's plants to create rubbery-like material that came out of soybeans. And Dr. Carver was so good with soybeans, and there's some stories that we'll tell. For those of you who all don't know, Dr. Carver is one of my fraternity brothers, was one of my fraternity brothers, I should say. He's with the ancestors now. And there's a lot that we learn about his life. And in fact, I'm doing a special presentation on January 5th on his life and some of the things that he was able to accomplish. In fact, I still have it loaded up. I'll get you guys the information. Here it is. Yeah. If you'd like to have an idea of what that's all about, you can look it up on Eventbrite, or you can check it out right here. I'll post it. It should show up in all of your chat box. So whether you're watching the show on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, you should be able to see a link to that event. If not, my information is scrolling across the screen, and I'll definitely get it to you. But it's important that you know about men like Carver. You have to figure out for yourself, who do you know so well? Who's written so much? The letters between Henry Ford and Dr. Carver were so powerful and so passionate and so clear about what they were doing and why they were doing it. We were able to piece together the values that they had, the reasons they did it, the purposes that they were using to create some of the amazing tools and the amazing techniques that they were able to create. But it boils down to, the value system that we're able to pull. And from Dr. Carver, I love the value system, right? The decisions he made, the goals he set, the things that he tried to do were all based around his understanding of hard work, his understanding of perseverance, his understanding of faith, and his understanding of education, which you should have seen all of that in the quotes that I shared with you, because all of that stuff came from him, right? Now, why do we talk about this? Well, it's important that you have your heroes, because you need to know some values that are important. Ethos is very important to your goal system, goal setting, what your ethics are, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to share this with you, this next slide with you, not because I think you all should be Bible thumpers or read it and all that kind of stuff, but it's some good information in that book. And it shares kind of what human beings were thinking 2,000-3,000 years ago, and how that thinking might inform what's going on with us today. And I'm going to get into some of the neurological reasons why that's important. But think about this. What is what the Bible basically says in general about goal setting? First thing it says is always look for the greatest good. Whatever you're doing, look for what the Spirit guides you to do, right? Connect yourself to that innermost thought, the innermost thinkings. Connect yourself to the universal ideas and concepts, to what is good. Look for the greatest good, right? That's very important, all right? So if you've got some talents and gifts, you want to make sure that you're applying those talents and gifts to create and to do the greatest good you can with them, right? So you have to have the concept of what that greatest good is. For me, it's what God says, and it's like, think about what Carver did. He would get up in the morning and go have his moment of meditation and prayer, and he would connect with that spirit, and that the spirit would help guide him into the things he should do. It's very, very important to have that kind of connection, because when you have that kind of connection, you can say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things really easily, and it doesn't take a lot of your time struggling to figure out, what should I do, what should I not do, where should I go, what should I not, how do I focus? That's all there for you right there. Number 2, trust in the call of destiny. I love this one. I tremendously believe that all of us were put here for a reason, whatever that reason is. And that reason is something that is going to keep beating us up as we grow older and older and older, until we identify with it, until we figure out what our purpose is, until we figure out what our mission is, until we figure out what our destiny is. We're going to have problems, a lot more problems than we need to have. Now, there's no getting out of having problems. There's no getting out of the human condition. But I would suggest to you, if you're working diligently on the things that matter and that really matter to you, to your family, to the communities, to the workplace that you belong to, and you'll have a sense of connection and belonging everywhere you go and with everything you do. And so it's super, super important that you find out what that purpose is and do your work. Now, When I say do the work, what am I talking about? Look at all the gifts you already have. Look at all the talents you already have, the investments you already have, the quality of life that you already have, and understand that that is a benefit to you, some of which you did not earn. Some of it was delivered to you by grace, right? It didn't have to happen that way for you. You didn't have to have the benefits that you have right now. You didn't have to have those that what we call privilege that you have right now. Everybody has some level of privilege, but you didn't have to have it. You didn't earn it. It was given to you. Maybe you learned, maybe you put some learning on top of it, but basically you had what was required to even learn something, right? So that was a privilege in and of itself. Think about that. What is the destiny? What is your destiny's calling you? If you ramp up all the gifts that you have, all the talents and abilities that you have, that you've been dormantly lying and unconscious with, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next week and we get to habits. What could you be? What could you do? What could you have that you currently don't? If you were to put everything on steroids and make it work, right? Based on what you currently have, what you currently know, who you currently are in every iteration, in every role that you play. Because there's a destiny calling for you. And the sooner you figure out what that is, in any of the areas that you're working for, you can begin that process of working towards it. Number 3, if you're setting goals to maximize the greatest need that you have for yourself personally, for your family, for the community that you're in, there's a lot of people who win, right? And so it's not just you. Anybody who loves you, anybody who cares for you, anybody who depends on you, who needs you for anything, you need to be successful, not just for you, but for them, right? So it's super important that you give it all that you have. You can't sit on the sidelines and wait for opportunities to come your way. They're not always coming, right? You're gonna have to punch through. You have to give it everything you got. You're gonna have to make some sacrifices. You're gonna have to focus so hard that other things don't necessarily apply to you, because you're taking care of the needs, the things that are important for you to take care of. You're not just doing fly-by-night stuff. You're not getting distracted by things that are moving you in the opposite direction of your goals. You're focused on your goals. You're moving absolutely in them and toward them all the time. Super important. Again, this comes from the Bible. I didn't make this up. Number 4, let your knowledge and expertise encourage you. Again, your gifts are there for you to enjoy. Whatever skills or talents you have, you should be enjoying them. You should be finding ways to inject them into your current everyday life, so that you can find fulfillment and happiness and joy in your life based on the gifts and talents you've already been given. Right? So if you max those out and you're doing this exceptionally well with all the gifts and talents that you have, then you are going to be in exponential growth in terms of what you're able to do, how you're able to function, what you're able to produce. And the goals that you set are going to be reflective of the growth that you experience year after year after year after year after year. And you're only going to get better and better and better and better. Number 5, this one's my favorite. Act in full faith consistently. When you know who you are and you know what you're all about, you know what you're supposed to be reaching for, you know where you're going, there is no reason for you to doubt. There's no reason for you to hesitate. There is no reason for you to be fearful in the pursuit of whatever it is you're doing. And again, this is all based on various different quotes from the Bible, but it doesn't mean that's not the only good book out there, right? That's not the only good understanding of how human beings function and have functioned for thousands and thousands of years. Take those lessons from history. Take those lessons from our lives and our great thinkers and run with it. Right? Here's some facts on goal setting that I'm going to share with you based on the questions that we've already asked. Right? The answer. Think about this. People who write their goals down, write them down, brilliantly articulated and shared. Right? That's what I mean by people who write them down. They are 42% more likely to achieve those than those who don't. Now, you can say in your mind, well, I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going. I'm out. I'll have to write them down. I'm going for it. But you're going to be amongst the 3%. That if you write them down. If you write them down, you're going to be amongst the 3% of people who actually do this. Most don't. I can't even tell you how many people don't just write them down. They don't write them down in such a clear and concise and brilliant way that when they share them with other people go, ooh, wow, I want to get on board with that. I can see you doing that. Let's find out how we can help you do that better, faster, stronger. Let's support that, right? That's what you want people to say when they hear your goals. But if you keep them to yourself, close to the cup, you didn't write them down, you don't share them, they're not brilliantly articulated, guess what? That can't happen. Because you can't give people what they need to be excited for you. Number 2, people who set specific goals are more likely to achieve them than those who set general goals. Now, I know there's a lot that you want to do, but each goal that you want to have in 2024 needs to be specific. It has to be something that you can get your arms around and measure. Now, even emotional goals can be measured. If you listen to what I'm going to teach you over the next couple of days, or the next couple of weeks, obviously, you're going to get that, right? You're going to get that. You can measure even feelings, right? Or even emotional content. It's just a matter of understanding the right tools and the right techniques to put in place to do that. So don't be scared to set feeling goals or emotional goals, because they are specific. You want to be happy? Set it as a goal. How do you measure it? Figure out what happiness looks like and means to you. Then you measure it, right? Very, very important. But specific goals are very specific, very important to have. And, you can't go after everything at once. So make sure you have your prioritized goals and make sure you have them listed in terms of when they have to happen, right? And understand why in the prioritization, right? Because we'll get into that later. All right. Number 3, visualize your goals. When you can visualize your goals, it is massively important, not just to be able to achieve them, but to your emotional health. It improves your relationships. It improves your productivity. It improves your physical and mental health, your well-being. All is wrapped up in your ability to visualize your goals. Of course, you need to write them down, but you also need to visualize them. You need to be able to see yourself doing the things that you have to do to achieve them. You'd be able to see yourself actually achieving them, exceeding them. And the more you can see yourself achieving your goals, the more you're going to feel as if you've already achieved them. And that's going to boost your confidence, which will help you develop your competence and trustworthiness with other people who will come along with you for the ride. That's super, super important. I don't know how many of you all have started moving towards something that you wanted to do in the past, only to realize that there's some other people who could come with you. And as you work together and collaborate toward that goal, whatever that goal is, all of a sudden it becomes much sweeter, it becomes more nicer, it becomes more important to you. You work harder because you have accountability partners, you have friends and associates along with you along the way. But if you're all by yourself with your goals, that's one of the reasons why people don't get past February before they've killed all their resolutions. The New Year's resolutions are out the window and they haven't even thought about it, right? Number 4, about goal setting. You need to set challenging goals. If you set goals that are easy, that you know you're going to do, there's no growth there, right? There's nothing new there. Just I'm going to rinse, watch, and repeat the same thing I did last year. That's my goal setting. Come on. Challenge yourself. Stretch yourself. Take what you've got last year and improve upon it. Make it goals to make that thing better. And if you know exactly how you're going to do it, stretch beyond just that notion, right? Make it difficult. Make it complicated. Not complicated. Make it a challenge. That's important, right? The goals have to be challenging. If they're not challenging, then they're going to be exciting. It's going to be easy to do. And I know the reason why people will do that. People do that. They set the bar low for themselves because they don't want to mess up expectations. A lot of times they don't want, you don't want your boss to think that you're going to be able to accomplish XYZ sales goal or whatever that is you're trying to do, and you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I would rather see you challenge yourself to stretch just a little bit more than you think you can do, because generally that's what we are as human beings. We are basically more capable than we think we are. Now, I'm not saying go all the way out there in left field and dream about stuff that's not possible, but think about what is possible and just go just a little bit further than that. I hope you get that. If you don't understand that, ask me a deeper question. We'll figure out how we can explain it to you a little better. Sharing your goals with others. I already made mention to this one. This is one of the key factors to success. People who share their goals with other people stay motivated. Right? They don't get those moments of where you don't feel like I don't want to do it. I don't want to get up today. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to try anymore. I'm losing my edge for this. Blah 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 blah. The more you're around people who are supportive and are helping and are giving you ideas and are cheering you on, then you're going to stay accountable to that thing. But the less you are, the more you're by yourself. So the more people in your network that you're sharing your goals with, that especially people that you respect, right? People that you respect, people that you hold in high regard, maybe people that you adore, right? The more you share your goals with them, the more motivated you are going to be to achieve them, the more you're going to be willing to do what needs to be done. And you're going to want to stay accountable because you're going to see how that accountability helps you. Right? The last thing, and I think the most important thing, is tracking your progress. Now, as a coach, my job is execution. My job is to help people really execute their goals and their plans and their dreams and put some real action behind what they're trying to do, and action that work, right? That's what I train people to do. That's what I help people to do all the time. I can't stand people who have a dream or a goal or something that they're trying to get done. They're not going to do anything about it. Or what they do about it is not going to work because they haven't really thought through, how it's going to work. And because they're not tracking, they don't even know where they went wrong. Right? It's super important that you have a daily pace, a daily accountability of how you're going to move towards your goals. And goals will help you do that. Goals will help you get that kind of accountability. Okay, so let's get down to some brass tacks on what I suggest that everybody does when it comes to setting their goals. First thing, you gotta establish that pace of achievement. You do that by making sure that you have well-written, brilliantly articulated, smart goals. When I say well-written, I mean well-written. Brilliantly articulated means you're able to share them. You're able to speak about them. You're able to talk about them. So you can't have 30,000 goals. It's too much for your brain to handle, right? You need 5, maybe 10 tops in a year that you can speak to and tell people, this is the goal that I have. This is why I have this goal. This is what I'm hoping to accomplish because of this goal. Here's what this goal is going to be able to do for me. This is going to be a significant achievement. And then every time you knock one of those goals out throughout the year, guess what you do? You have a party, right? And what is a SMART goal? SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Let's talk about that relevant piece. When you set a goal that's not relevant to you in any way, shape, or form, just because your boss wants you to do it or just some company wants you to do it, doesn't mean it's relevant to you. You must discover and find out what's relevant about that goal to you. Is it going to make the company better? If it's going to make the world a safer place? If it's going to, create more opportunities for other people and all that, those are relevant goals. But if it's just the minimum you got to do to keep your job, you don't need to do that. You don't need to write that down. You're just going to do that anyway. That's your daily habit, right? Goals are something that's a stretch. Goals are something that's going to require you to dig a little deeper. Goals are going to require you to ask questions and find out more and engage other resources outside of yourself. Goals are that relevant, right? So because you're not going to be special by just doing whatever the easy, nice, new. It's not going to work for you. So think about what you can do to be relevant and timely. Now, some people will call that time bound. I like to call it timely because I want to attach the time that you spend to relevance. If it's not relevant, then it doesn't matter when you do it. So there's no time for it. It doesn't mean anything, right? But if it's relevant, then it's going to be timely. It's going to have a time associated with when it should be getting done, and because that time matters to some other part or some other process somewhere else that has to happen, right? And so the time for you to get that done has to be based on something. I mean, again, back to relevance. If it's not relevant, it doesn't mean anything. It's not gonna. If it's not achievable at all, we can go back to that. Maybe it shouldn't be a goal of yours. Maybe somebody's thinking about your capabilities and the capacity of your team at a rate that really isn't possible, and they can't even demonstrate to you how it can be possible. So maybe that's not a good goal for you to accept, because if you can't see the route and the way clear, or how to even approach it, and nobody who's giving you the goal or helping you decide what that is can't see that, I think you're up for a failure, right? You don't want that. Failure is not an option. Of course, you're gonna fail, right? It's gonna happen, but you don't want to fail right from the goal setting point, right? You want to get going before you experience a dramatic failure, right? The value of specificity. I can't stress to you enough. If you cannot really conceive it, if you cannot really wrap your arms around it, if you can't really explain what it is to somebody else specifically, it's not a good enough goal. It has to be specific. Specificity is special. Anything that's general and broad, it can't happen. It's too broad. It's too general. It's too out there. You'll be all alone with that thing forever because no one else will get it. No one else will know how to add to it. No one else will know where to jump in. You got to be specific. I can't stress that enough. The next thing you want to do is establishing your pace of your goals. Is you want to, again, meet the stretch challenge. You have to be able to stretch yourself. You have to be able to grow beyond what you can currently do, or who you currently are, what you can currently have. It's got to be something additional. It's got to be some growth measure of that's easy for you, not easy for you to get to, but easy for you to conceive of getting to, right? Super, super important. Prioritize your work. Make sure throughout the course of the year, you're not doing the wrong things at the wrong time. You got to be doing the right things at the right time, which means you have to sit down and prioritize. This is important. This is an A goal. This is the B goal. This is the C goal. A meaning it's urgent. I got to do it. If I don't do it, my life is going to be lost. Something's going to happen dramatic that if I don't get this done at this particular time. B is what I would call a secondary goal. It'd be nice to do this. It ain't a requirement, but it's a nice to do thing. It would feel good in doing it. But I think I have to, you know what, Hassan, don't even worry about that. You can always go back and rewatch the episode. So I'm glad you were here. Thank you so very much in joining and showing up with us. It really mean a lot to me. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat, or DM me, because you obviously connected with me on LinkedIn. So go ahead and direct message me if you have any questions about anything. Again, you can always go back and watch this episode. So don't feel like you missed anything. But thank you for sharing. You want to be able to achieve at a pace that's usable, right? You want to get down. You got to break your goals down into smaller tasks. That's super important. You have to be able to visualize your goals. Visualizing your goals will jack up your confidence. It will increase your performance. It will make sure your emotional well-being is taken care of. When you feel like you're doing something that is useful, is meaningful, it's going to lead to a better possibility for you, your family, your company, your organization. It feels so good, and you're going to be well. You're going to have a much better chance of doing the things that you need to do to maintain your energy, doing the things that you need to do to maintain your focus. It's all going to go there. You're going to have the right mantras, the right meditations. You're going to be able to have the right affirmation statements that keep you on track and keep you focused and keep you directed. The next thing you want to do, you got to be able to share your brilliance. Can't tell you enough, again, how important it is to be able to communicate and gather the people around you that you have to gather around you. You have the privilege of being connected with other people. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, Bring them into the universe. Bring them into your success. Bring them into your opportunities. Stand up to that opportunity with them and show them what it means to be associated with you and how special they are. You know, use that tool, use that connection as an opportunity to create leverage for yourself. My Leverage Up conference is all about that, making sure that you have all the things you need to make sure that you are tracking with you and keeping up with your peeps, right? Keeping up with your peeps, very, very important. Track your progress, keep scores in front of you, make sure that you have sort of a goalpost or some kind of measuring tool, some kind of process, whether it's paper, digital, whatever you want to use, that you can see your achievement. You can see that pace. Let's talk about the basic truths of goal setting. Here we go. Those are the answers to the questions. 42% of people who set their goals are well-written, brilliant, articulated goals are they're more successful than those who don't, right? But only 3% of us do that. Be amongst that 3%. Don't say, I don't have to write it down. I'm not going to do this. I'll get around to it. Get to it before 2024 starts. Write it all down. Super, super important. Make sure your goals are specific. Talked about that, right? Visualize. Make sure that you use that visualization to create confidence where you need to create confidence. You know, the Bible says without a vision, people perish, right? So you need to have that vision. Create stretch goals. Don't do the easy stuff. The easy stuff is exactly that. It's too easy. You need stretch goals that will lead you to higher levels of performance. That'll lead you to higher levels of satisfaction. Will lead you to higher levels of connection to yourself and to your team. You want to be the hero. Don't be satisfied with just the marginal. Work to excellence. Work to above the margins. Last thing, when it comes to the truth about goal setting, is you want to be able to share goals. If you can't speak to it, if you can't articulate it, if you can't share what you're doing with other people, how can other people come to your rescue? How can they help you? How can they add their brilliance on top of your brilliance? Now, these are the things I do all the time. I teach people how to do these things. I use my processes and create different processes for members of the teams to empower themselves and empower their organizations, generate higher levels of productivity, create energy where there is none. Sometimes, we help drive focus and direction to their activities, so they're doing great things. That's what we do through the coaching process. But every week I come on just like this. I'd have coffee to you and me. I used to do this session with just entrepreneurs and business leaders in my neighborhood at the local coffee shop. And now I'm getting together people all over the world. We have people logged in on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. They watch the show regularly, and it's very popular. Don't keep this a secret, right? This is coffee to you and me. I have another program called Inside the Business Mind, where I pick out special members of the business community and I give the personal interview with them, and then I publish that interview for everybody else to see and grow and learn from. It's very, very important. If you know people that you would recommend for Inside the Business Mind, definitely hit me up. My information is right across the stream. There's a good reason for them to be on the show, meaning they're going to add something to the small women and minority-owned business world in terms of their thinking and what they're doing. I want them on the show. The Leverage Up Conference. The Leverage Up Conference is something I do every quarter. I get all this talent together, all these great people together, and we do a virtual conference. We talk about leveraging what's going on in the world today, politically, economically, socially, with the technology, the legal matters, and the ecosystem, how they all work together to function to make sure that we don't fall victim, especially as small businesses, don't fall victim to situations where we could find and create leverage. Now, hurricane comes in your world. I can't stop a hurricane, but I can help you be more prepared for that potential hurricane. And that's what the Leverage Up Conference is all about, making sure that you're prepared for the tsunamis that's going to hit the world. And I mean, not just physical tsunamis, but educational tsunamis in the politics, tsunamis, they're all over the place, and they're happening more and more. So you have to be prepared for that if you're going to be successful in business. You're just going to drown. The next thing we talk about for all of our organizations, of course, we create training, we create development like this all the time. This is what I do for fun. I'm sitting around dreaming about better ways to explain concepts and higher level information to entrepreneurs and business leaders all day, every day. This is what I love to do. And if you haven't already connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so, because this is what I love. I love connecting with you guys. I see some of my favorite people out there. I got to give a shout out to the great Lori Smith. There she is in all her glory. She and I are going to be working together on the conference here. I think in February. I don't know if we have a date for that, not Lori, but make sure let me know if I do. If you get a chance to connect with Lori, she's amazing. Another superstar. Can't say enough about the great financial advisor, Miss Leah Garcia. Leah is super talented, super special. I'm so glad to be associated with her. I'm glad she watches the show. Every once in a while, I get grace with Leah's presence, and she decides she wants to be on the show. Listen, guys, next week we're talking. Here's what we're talking about next week. We're getting into the habits, right? What are the habits that you have to be super successful? We're going to break it down. We're talking about the truth of your habits. We're going to talk about the problems with your current habits. We're going to talk about the 8 super powerful habits of the successful people in the world, the benefits of habit tracking. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the good book says. We've got to always throw that in there, right? We're going to talk about some famous thoughts and some things about self-mastery, and finally get down to the tools and techniques that you need to have to get control of yourself finally and make things happen for 2024. And then we're going to close out the next session with a wrap up. So I'm hoping that everything is going to work well, and it's all going to come together. I actually know it all is going to come together because I already planned it, and everything I plan comes together because I make it happen. Anyhow, good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Lori, I hear you, I see you, and I've received the message. And so now I'm going to put that in my calendar because I got to be down in South Carolina through the first to the 4th in February. I can't wait to it. It's gonna be so exciting. I'm already putting my little ducats aside. Okay, good to see you guys. Thanks so very much for coming to the show. I'm signing off. I know I went a little long today. Usually we try to get this done between 35 and 40 minutes, but we're gonna do this thing and we're gonna make some good stuff happen for you guys. So I'm gonna sign off now. Again, if you have any questions, put that information in the chat. Please share the show. The show is going to be broadcasted live. It's broadcasted live now on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but it's going to be shareable on all those platforms too. So if you were on the show, or you had a question, or you wanted to, just go ahead and share the stuff. Put your information in the chat, and I'll get back with you. I don't get back with you. I got some coaches, man. They'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions about anything. But you cannot be left out there by yourself. You're not by yourself, so stop acting like it, and let's go get it for 2024. Thank you guys so much. It was great having you, and I am out of here.